My name is Mike Toussaint. I'm a retired Senior Chief, Master at Arms, retired after about 21 and a half years in the Navy. I'm here to talk to you today about a specific mission that took place on 9th of July, 2009. Earlier that night, we had been tasked to go after a different target on a different mission. Got the notification that they had fresh intelligence where they were pretty confident that they knew where then Private Bergdahl's location was. So the decision was made for us to get ready and go on a mission to try to go get him back. Even though we knew that he had knowingly walked off that base, none of us had any reservations or problems about going out and trying to get him back. So that's what we did. We landed rather close to the objective, close enough to where they obviously could hear us. And so there was no surprising them. The gig was up. We started taking a complement of effective fire. There's small arms fire, RPGs. It was a real mess. The dog's ability to detect and locate, people that are hiding or trying to set an ambush or whatever the case may be, the dog's abilities are invaluable. The dog brings such an asset in that regard. I could see two bodies coming across the field. It was a pretty good distance away at this time, but close enough to where I could see that there was two bigger people, assumingly males in man dresses, walking across the field, confident that we were all thinking the same thing, that one of those two could have been Bergdahl, because they would have for sure dressed him up. They wouldn't have had him walking around in his Army uniform, so we had to operate with that assumption. Sent Remco out. He proceeded out in front of us, and could tell by his change of behavior, his indications that looked for that he had got their scent, and as he got closer, gunfire erupted. It all happened real quick. I remember seeing Remco get within a couple feet of their location, and then he got shot in the head and came flying back out. I mean, literally flying out. And about that time, Jimmy, who was right to my right, got shot. And I remember hearing him, I could tell he was in pain. Kind of like a fireworks show. It's kind of hard to describe. Things were happening so quick, and I just kept walking towards him. Didn't have anywhere to go. I didn't think about not doing that, but I don't know how I didn't get shot. There were bullets. I mean, you can hear them when they crack the side beside you. And I later found out that those fireworks shows were actually grenades being thrown, but that all didn't register at the time. Got up within a few feet of them. I was able to ensure that the fight was over with them. So once that was done, grabbed Remco's vest and I drug him back towards Jimmy's location. By that time, a couple other people had arrived and were already administering first aid. And then the same helicopter that had dropped us off came out of nowhere and came right back in there and landed right in the middle of that nonsense. I mean, it was amazing to see them come in. That took some courage for them to come in and get us, because they came into a bad deal, and it's humbling to have people, willing to do that. Proceeded to go to the closest forward military establishment, medical establishment we could. I continued to work on Remco. I had already cut his vest off out there in the field. I was trying to get an airway back, and I hadn't accepted that he was mortally wounded at that time. I think it was just denial. The shooter that came with me and I then got on a helicopter and went back out to the scene and finished it up there. That's pretty much that night in a nutshell. For him to sit there and be perfectly still and look at me, and just looking at me with those eyes, yeah, he was kind of like he was saying bye. So that one, and the fact that I relive watching him get shot and come spinning back out, those two. Yeah, those are the two that tend to stick with me. So, and they probably always will. But the reality is, he did his job. He did exactly what we trained him to do. We knowingly, went out, in hazardous situations. It's just part of the job. I think it's only natural, human, to be affected to some extent. That night take place solely because we had a selfish American that walked off a base it just makes it harder to swallow. Having him getting snuffed out because of Bergdahl's ridiculous excuse to walk off that post, it just makes it that much harder to accept. What's the definition of a hero? I'm not real fond of that term. The hero was Remco. You know, all I did was choose to live. I did what I had to do to make it through that night. Like I said, how I didn't get hit with those bullets, because believe me, they were spraying a lot. I think it's by the grace of God, and I'm convinced that it is. So he left me here for a reason. So I'm not exactly sure what that is, but I owe it to Remco to try to do good.